Welcome to my humble little office. My name is Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on June 7th, 2023, at approximately 4:25 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life that I talk about are the philosophies I personally guide my own life with. So this is not a question of just, here's some ideas you might want to work with. This is what I literally will stand behind because, well, frankly, I do it. Okay, that's why I say many of the tools have been handed out to literally thousands of people with varying degrees of success depending on your own efforts. Now, before I go any further here, we have Nathan coming in with the gold. And, Nathan is the one that I kind of figured he'd be hopping in. Oh, Derek. Okay, well, we will get to that in about 10 seconds. Emmy is in with silver, and Derek is in with the bronze. And we have an unfortunate message here that Derek has just brought to us. Okay, and I'm just going to go with the idea that it's bang on the money. Okay, because Derek is one of these people that if he's going to say something, he's already done the research or he already believes it wholeheartedly. But apparently Dave Scott of Spaced Out Radio, apparently his mom has now passed away. So as Derek put in here, rest in peace. And, my condolences absolutely go out to Dave and his family and everybody that's left behind, as well as any that knew her or knew him. Our heart really does go out to them. Talk about an off-kilter way to start the day. But hey, let's face it, we start it the way it works out. But Derek, thank you so much for bringing that news to us. It's unfortunate news, realistically, but it is kind of an important piece of information because, as I've said many times before, it was literally Dave's channel that got me in here in the first place. He wasn't the first channel that I got on, the first interview I did. Okay, let's see. We paste this. This is the link to Dave's YouTube channel. Okay. Oh, and for those of you that are wrestling fans, the Iron Sheik from way back, I think he used to wrestle in the 80s and 90s ish, has also passed away from the famous wrestling group. Okay. Steve, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Yeah, well, it is a sad note, but I have to look at it this way. I passed away a number of times, and where she went, there are a lot of options out there. Okay. Now, I missed a couple here. We have Nathan with the gold. We've got Emmy with the silver. Derek has come in with the bronze. And this puts Steve, you come in with honorable mention. Now, I do have a wonderful piece of news that we can swap over on the other side. I mentioned I was going to be, that I had completed writing, Believe in Your Finances and Follow Your Dreams. Well, I turned it into my printer this morning. I think it was this morning. Might have been last night. Okay, but in any event, I just got word from her just a couple hours ago. She's actually got the first draft printed off for me to go and verify. That is absolutely the truth of it there, Derek. So this is where reaching out and letting Dave know that we do feel for him, that we do have the support for him, is extremely important. Okay, because I don't know if you guys realize it, but Dave is really, much as he's on the air all the time, Dave is very much a family individual. Okay, so all the help that we can give him all the help in the way of support that we can give him is absolutely necessary in my eyes. Okay, now the nice part about it, what we're looking at here, is we have a growing change here. Oh, and by the way, one other neat little piece of news regarding the new book that's just coming out. My editor and I went through all the different blurbs for the different books. Okay, I haven't even got Believe in Your Finances and Follow Your Dreams actually printed off. Okay, and I've already got one of them sold. Okay, now this is, from my standpoint, this is fantastic news. So it really boils down to an issue of get your dreams together. Now, like I said, I was going to keep you posted. This was that one goal I was working on to get done before Sunday. Well, by the look of it, I'm well on the way. Okay, and as Derek has pointed out, Derek, what he has said is all we can do is pray and treat people as we would want to be treated. And this is very much the truth of the matter. We can concentrate on all the negative things and all the loss and what have you. Personally, I like the Irish way of looking at a funeral. Okay, they have a wake. And what they do is, yes, it's another excuse for them to get bombed. But what they do is they celebrate all the fun they had. Okay, now, like I've told people, I know I make everybody I meet happy. Some of them by showing up, most of them by leaving. Okay, but I am doing my best to get a little bit more sociable with people, even though I am absolutely working to get everything moving, so I'm actually making the income that I require to survive. Okay, and what do we got? Oh, my very belated condolences there, Emmy. The reality is it can take a while. My parents both passed. The last of my parents passed in 2019. One in 2016, one in 2019. Okay, I still feel the loss. There was a lot, and this is where that one comment came from a while ago. If you've got a family member or a friend that you've lost contact with due to circumstance or, just situations, if there is any way at all to put that problem behind you or to reconnect, absolutely do so. I did not do that with my parents, and there is no way I can now. I mean, yes, I made peace with them since they passed, but there's a very different feel to it. Everybody, so many people are looking at the future and going, oh, we're heading into really dark times and the end times are coming, and here's all the markers that say our world's going to pass. Okay. And Shadow, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, I missed something here. Nathan, you were first through the door, so let us get back up here. There. Now, this is the link to Nathan's YouTube channel. Okay. And there we have it. So if you drop in, give them a look, you'll see the time is right there on it. Okay, 9 p.m. Central on Saturdays. Okay, wouldn't surprise me to find him in there on other days. And where is Shadow? And then we have Shadow's YouTube channel. Well, we have to hit copy, otherwise it doesn't copy. So we pop that in there. Okay, and there we have Shadow and Sons YouTube channel. So again, drop in if you like what they're saying, if you like the content of the video, give them a thumbs up. Okay, absolutely give them a thumbs up. If and absolutely subscribe to the channel. And let's get the good people out there. Let's really focus on getting the positive things happening. Now, I put a challenge out to everybody on Monday about this idea of pick one task that you desire to complete by Sunday when I come on air. Okay. Pick one task and make it happen. Now, the one I was aiming at was to get Believe in Your Finances and Follow Your Dreams in print. But the other thing that we went to today is, so we went to it today. Went through all the different blurbs that I've got for the advertising of various different books. Okay. Along with ways of actually ordering directly from me, because I'm having all kinds of wonderful problems that are annoying. But let's get back to the reality of what I was starting with here. Okay, what is the possible future, our possible future regarding quantum computers? Now, let us be very clear about something. Number one, from my understanding, and absolutely if somebody knows differently, pipe up, let us know. My understanding is that the modern computer was patterned after the human brain, doing its best to replicate the number of connections and the thinking process that the human brain does, but in an electrical format. Now, something we got to understand about standard computers, they are electrical, meaning you have to have things happening in a definitive sequence. Okay, because electrical energy only runs from positive to negative. Okay, and it's got to be grounded somewhere in the middle. With quantum computers, they run both directions at the same time, and frankly, there's no grounding. Okay, but quantum computers have another little bonus. Okay, they go in multiple directions. Shadow, from my standpoint, the day has been hectic as all get out, but really productive on a positive run. Okay, when I get done today, I will be I will be starting to post on the various different venues that I've got regarding the books I've already got in print. Not all of them will get printed today. It will be popped in and advertised today because I'm not swamping the place. Okay, I've got 7 right now. Okay, 7 books right now in print. Okay, so what I'm thinking, I'll have 8 in print very quickly. But what I'm thinking is most days putting a advertisement out, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, of the different books and just cycle through them and see what I can do about getting things to happen that way. Okay, now let me see if I've got this. That's not what I require. Get that open because we have to open up book advertisements. This is what I was working on today. Okay, and this will just give you a very simple idea. See, I can get away with this because I live here. But and anybody that has their own channel understands this part of it. I will figure out how to do this a little bit more succinctly. Oops, can't do that. So since I cannot do that because that's too big, apparently we can't do that. So we will just carry on until we run out of room. We'll find a different way. Apparently I can only put 200 words in here at a time, so that's okay. So we do it that way. Whoop. And that should do it. We take this, and this is the series I'm referring to, but this is all I can do here. Oh, bonus. Okay. There, that seems to work. Now, who do we got here? Nina, welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. Now, when we take a look at quantum computers, okay, first and foremost, we got to understand quantum is smaller than standard, and the level of and the intricacy of the communication lines between between the parts of the computer is phenomenal and extremely quick. Okay, this is what we're finding is computers are getting faster and faster and faster. The one drawback with computers on the whole is if you run them too fast, they overheat. Same applies with quantum computers. They've got to be kept running cool. Now, the neat part about quantum computers, and this, by the way, Nathan, is something you and I have to sit down and talk about. Okay, I've been working out the schematics for it, okay, and looking for the information for you to discuss how to go about building a crystalline computer. Now, the problem is that we're going to run into is a crystalline computer, which is what many of the off-worlders use, does not link up with an electrical computer. Yeah, Derek's just filling us up. They're filling us in on some details here. He goes, quantum computer is a multidisciplinary field comprising aspects of computer science, physics, and mathematics that utilize quantum mechanics to solve complex problems faster than on classical computers. And ultimately, this is correct. The other thing that is really neat, when we talk about what I've mentioned to you before, something called the biomagnetic holographic interface. A quantum computer can work with that. Yeah, I mean, it's, am I going to get into the absolute science behind it? In all fairness, I don't know enough of the science behind it. I am much more adept at the theoretical side of it. Unfortunately, the theoretical side of it, what I've found, is far more down the road. You'll find much more of this information available. Right now, they're working on what they've got. No, no disrespect to any of the computer people in the computer field, because that is so far outside my field that's absolutely bizarre. Okay, but what we do know is that computers are evolving faster and faster. Problem: if people keep pushing down the concept of AI, they are going to run into a problem. Now, the problem is not that the computer is a bad thing. Okay, the problem is AI will solve all problems on a logic only base. They will, much as people will go, oh, they process just like the emotions. No, they don't. Okay, a quantum computer programs on a purely logical extrapolatory facet. And unfortunately, this means the solutions it may come up with are not likely to be entirely beneficial to you. Okay, there is no question that we are now dealing, I think that I know they've got microbots. I think they've already gone into nanotechnology. And if that's the case, you're dealing with computers again that can now go in and repair damage at a very complex, very microscopic level. But the potential for that being turned to a negative is mind-boggling. Okay, but this is why we have to focus on the positive side of what's going on. Oh, Derek is just saying this is a fun side note fact. Everyone knows Skype video phone talking. Well, in the 1940s, Germans invented a video phone call where you could see who you were talking to on the phone, way back then. That, there's no question there. They also did something similar when Star Trek came out, when the original Star Trek came out, and they called it a visiphone. These are things that have been around for decades. And this is why I say, when the scientists came out and said, oh, big news, we landed a rover on Mars back in, I think it was the 2020s-ish. And like I told people, maybe it was a little earlier, like I told people then, if they'd have come out in 1975 and said, hey, we landed a rover on Mars, that would have been big news. That would have been current news. But they released the information anywhere from 30 to 50 years after they've done it. The computers you've got on your shelf right now, the brand new computers that you're just pulling off state of the art, are already a minimum of 6 months behind current computer development. And this gap is just going to continue getting bigger. This is not to say it's a bad thing. Okay, but it is to say that we have to be aware the computers will evolve faster and faster as we go along. And unless you can either function in that realm or you can bypass it altogether, okay, you're going to have complications. Now, myself, I am beyond the point of looking to try and catch up with the computer industry. Okay, to my way of thinking, I have enough trouble getting my computer word program to work right. Okay, and anybody that's talked to me about that has worked with me on my computers knows full well this is a major problem. Am I likely to ever overcome it? No, but then I've got so many other things on the go, I'm no longer overly worried about it. Okay, I've got kids that can handle that side of it. And the people coming up that I am connecting with, especially people that I've connected with through this chat room, has been phenomenal. But quantum computers are going to take computers way outside the norm. Okay, and it would not surprise me, and I don't have any here. This thing here, this fine little thing here. Okay, remember back in the 60s, and in Star Trek, they pull out their communicator, they go flip, and then they talk on it. Okay, that's what we're using right now. Okay, this is just one of those fine things that's been around for decades before they released it to the general public. And I will tell you this neat little notion, they can't track a phone number, okay, because it's a, what do they call it, a burner phone. This is, quite frankly, in my opinion, and understand this is my opinion with nothing solid to work with, but it's got to be hogwash because they track everything. And a phone, when you utilize a phone, a cell phone of any type, they track it. They have to track it or they can't connect the call. And as any of you working in the computer field find, as any of you know, okay, you delete something from your computer, it's still there. All you're wiping out is the data tree. Okay, but if you've got the right tools and the right understanding, you can sort that out without a big problem. That's just the reality behind it. Let us hit refresh here because I want to stay on top of things. But when we take a look at this, okay, when we take a look at reality the way it is, okay, this is where the foot hits the pavement, if you will, or rubber meets the asphalt. Okay, the faster computers get, the more equipped we are to deal with the computers and with that accelerated space race that we've got going on. It's kind of funny, in my opinion, the space race is over. Okay, there's already multiple players in outer space. Now we're talking about interplanetary travel on a convenient level. Okay, And considering they've already got to the moon and back, okay, it's not going to take long. Like maybe 20 years, I'm figuring that's probably over an overstatement for them to be able to successfully travel to and from Mars in functional time. Now, yes, we are likely looking at something along a 2 week or 3 week cruise, not months and months and months. Okay. And by the way, just to bring that up to speed, it was by utilizing computers at a much higher level than what the public knew about that back in the 60s, they had already started working with cryogenics. Okay. As in deep freezing people for space travel. At the time, they were looking at it as deep freeze until they can figure out a cure for certain illnesses. Sad part is they figured out the cure and still didn't bother with the other side of it. But now what we're looking at, okay, is computers are wrapped into everything you do. Okay, and what did I do with it? Right here. Neat part here. This little cell phone has literally more computing power in it than what the original Cray did way back in the 40s. Okay. The original Cray computer took up something like 6 city blocks just to do a little bit of work. Okay. In today's world, those are tiny. Well, the quantum computers that are coming out are going to be about the same comparison. Now, what would you do if I told you, okay, what I'm seeing happen here is you see this little, and we'll just go with the silver line, the tiny little silver button here. That's the size of the upcoming computers, the upcoming quantum computers, in comparison to your desktop. Okay, I'll tell you that little thing will work much faster than what the modern tabletops do. You know, this is where technology is going now. This does not mean technology is a bad thing. It does not mean that we should stop moving forward. I'm a dinosaur, absolutely. Okay, there is no question I'm a bit of a dinosaur. Now, what am I looking at here? Wrong one. You know, I do have, there's my database. And I'm really happy about this part. Nope. I got too many of these things, apparently. Okay, where is what I am looking for? One, two, three. That's got to be the fourth one. I didn't think I had that here. Okay, that is what I was looking for. Now, neat part here. When I said my database, you guys use computers. My database is right here. Okay, so what I do, because I just got this order in, so I go in here. Where are we? Okay, so get that up out of the way, and we grab this, and we add to my database. And unlike yours, by the way, my database cannot be hacked. Something about computers and cardstock, they do not just cut crosswise. And Chad is in the house. How are we doing, Chad? Glad you could join us. Now, let us see here. Minimize this. And Chad, here we go. The Chad Smith content, the Chad Smith podcast. Copy that. And here's the link to Chad's YouTube channel. And again, drop in, listen what he has to say. If you like what he has to say, absolutely give him a thumbs up. and then subscribe to the channel. It would be really appreciated. He can, let's face it, all of us can use as much help as we can. And Nathan is popping back in. The neat thing with Nathan, and this is really a testament to Nathan's ability to multitask. He's at work. The neat little part about it is he'll be at work and he'll still pop in and say hi. Now, I know there are people that sit in the background and don't say anything, and that's fine. I mean, quite frankly, the reality is not everybody is equipped to join into a chat room. A lot of the time, things will get said that get missed. And this is why, and Derek's a real good example of this. This is why I say if you've got something you desire me to catch attention to, put at least part of it in all caps. It makes it stand out. It's not called yelling. It's called getting my attention or waving your hand, which, by the way, that little emoji works really well. So we have, A, that is DA. So we go echo A. And what did I just do with it? Whoop, that's got to be it. Yep. See, what I do here, and this is a very old method of dealing with this. Okay, because I have account numbers and what have you, I take one card that all it's got is the account number, and this is just for my tracking purposes. I've got one card that has just the tracking number and the person's name. Okay, so that way I know what comes first. Now, with that in mind, okay, then I take a second sheet that has the name, the address, phone number, whatever data I require. Okay, which, by the way, also includes birth dates when I get them. And then I go into this and I go, where is K? There is. Then I turn around and the names actually get alphabetized. So I can find out exactly what I'm dealing with. And now my database is up to date. And like I said, I'm just starting to do it now. So as I get names confirmed, okay, I will add them straight to that database because I do have, a newsletter that's going to eventually become a magazine that will be absolutely free. Okay, because that's where my advertising's coming in. That and word of mouth. But I figured all that out. But when we start looking at quantum computers, the one thing we have to realize is quantum simply means smaller and faster than what we already know of. Okay, it really is something to be excited about. This technological advance is extremely necessary. And I'll tell you, when you're looking at, for instance, when you're looking at interplanetary travel. Okay, Ozzy, how you doing? Glad you could join us. See, now you get to get up first thing in the morning, and here we are. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but considering you usually show up here, this is a great thing in my opinion. But when we're looking at, you look at at modern cars. Okay, they started. Modern cars started with manual overrides and manual controls, the whole 9 yards. But as they got moving faster and faster, they turned to electronics. Okay, electric braking. Motion sensors to see if you're going to run into something up the road. Well, now we've gone to rockets. Okay, we went to planes, and they needed things like radar to see further ahead. The neat part about it. Okay, Carl, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The faster things move, the more important computers are going to be. Now, do understand, I'm a dinosaur amongst dinosaurs. I still use hard copy cardstock for tracking data. Okay, I don't trust computers, and I certainly don't trust my memory for holding passwords and what have you. As a matter of fact, I strongly recommend you never deliberately save your password on a computer. Okay, now I will tell you this. Not only will computers get faster, but the hackers we were talking about the other day will also become more adept. Okay, and this is where it becomes necessary to stay on top of the game. Okay, it's just that simple. Yeah. Yeah, Ozzy goes, I'm about to wake him big, even though I've been up for 2 hours. Steady rain at 7 degrees Celsius, 44 Fahrenheit. Okay, we right now, what am I sitting at? Oh, that's in the hallway. But according to my phone right now, we are looking at 32 Celsius. Here we are, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Pacific Standard Time, 32 Celsius, which, by the way, makes it in the early 90s. Okay, not bad for being the Great White North. But I like it here. So the faster computers get, the faster society moves. And what I'm finding myself is people are developing less and less in the way of patience. Okay, that's a bit of a problem, and it really is something that we have to take a look at. Okay, it absolutely is something that we've got to take a look at and decide, are we going to focus on the idea of immediate gratification, or are we going to start focusing on what happens if you put the effort in? Okay, now to put out, believe in your finances and follow your dreams, took me about a month to write it, edit it, and get it into the printer. Okay, needless to say, I've got a few other books I'm looking at that I've got to get working on, and the first one that I'll be spending a lot of time with now. By the way, we went through it. The front, how many pages? I don't even know if it got it up. Let me see here. YouTube video. No, that is not what I need. I require, I think it's this one. Let me just see here. Races of the World, not volume 2. I require Races of the World's second edition. Second printing, rather. Where are we? Pull that up. And we have done well, that's definitely wrong. I gotta go back through that and see where it's coming from. But we have done all of the editing through the first part of the book. We're now starting to work on the races. Okay, and moving that around. It's definitely taking longer than I would have liked, but oh well, I can't do much with that at this point. Okay, but now what we're looking at, and again, the faster society moves, the more you've got to be on the ball. But this is why I say, get started on your life. It's time to get excited about your projects. Okay, because if you can get excited about your projects, maybe, just maybe, that excitement will carry over to the people that you know and the people you're interacting with. I don't know about you. I know if I look back just a year ago, I had nowhere near the focus on what I was aiming for that I have today. Okay, maybe you've been running into the same thing. one of the biggest things that you've got to look at, or I would recommend you look at, let me see something here. Put that there. Okay, we've got to get the office sorted out. I've got to find the bookmarks. I moved my office around a couple of weeks ago and I still haven't found half the stuff I require. But it's absolutely critical. Pick a goal. Okay, quantum computers go and do it this way. They literally go, okay, here's the entire problem we've got. Now we're going to break it down. Well, the human brain breaks things down faster than any computer ever will. Okay, the reality is a biocomputer will respond so much faster than one electrical one will, because computers rely on electricity. Okay, quantum computers rely on the shock wave caused by electricity. Okay, and when you look at the brain, it is biological nerves. Okay, and it's when you start merging those two, and it will eventually happen. Well, it already has happened. How many computers do we know of where people have implants where, and I just saw this a few months back, they developed a new eye that will enable people, kids and adults alike, to actually see, where the computer is now designed to work in conjunction with the optic nerve. Now, quantum computers will make this so much smoother. Okay, and you guys by now should realize how little faith I have in modern medicine. But I will tell you, the computers, for most people, will work like an absolute charm. For me, not so much. That's just the sad reality behind it. I gotta close that and let us see if I can find what I'm looking for, because it really boils down to an issue of not there. Where are we? That's coming off the desktop. Okay. Browse and we'll go to H drive. And yeah, that does sound like my throat is seizing up on me, doesn't it? Okay, whoops. Let's go down to H drive. There we are. All the way down. And I'm betting that's what I've done. So we open that up and see where it comes from. Well, that is annoying. I'm going to have to go find out what I did with it. Okay, now, looking down here, iVoices has joined us. How you doing, iVoices? iVoices going, are gargoyles real, and do they pretend to be statues on buildings? Number one, yes, gargoyles are very real. Okay, let me see. Is this the... Yeah. Let's find that to start with. Do it this way. There we are. Now, first of all, gargoyles, their actual name is and these are in Races of the Worlds, the first volume. Okay, their actual name is the Gorgon. Okay, but not the mythological bull. Okay, are they real? The answer is yes. Do they pretend to be statues? Not exactly. Okay, they are living statues, or if you will, statues with life imbued in them. Okay, But yes, quite often they will sit on top of buildings. You got to remember the reason the gargoyle stepped in was to protect humans and other denizens from the negative entities. Okay, they sit there in the form of statues. It's not a question of faking of pretending they are. It's they have to be made out of stone. Okay, and because of that, they are statues. Ozzy goes, I've heard rocks are actually soft. They just don't like being touched. So they tense up. I know a lot of people like that. But, it depends on the rock in all fairness. They really do have a much denser skin than what humans do. So yeah, by human definition, they're not soft and squishy. Okay. They are actually a very dense surface, which is why when you run into a rock or vice versa, it hurts. So all in all, when you're looking at the gargoyles, at the Gorgon, okay, what you're looking at is another race that is here to help positive individuals. Yes, you'll get the occasional one that's negative. Certainly you will. Just like you will get negative humans. Yeah, Derek's just going, oh, yeah. Derek's going, I fractured my kneecap on a rock. And pardon my pronunciation, but it looks like Medjugorje in Bosnia and Herzegovina back in late 208. And I will tell you, whether you're over in Bosnia, or anywhere over there, or you're in Canada, or you're in the States, doesn't matter. You hammer your knee into a rock, it's in all likelihood going to hurt. Okay. Neat part with the Gorgon. Okay. Is their method of reproduction is somebody literally carves a statue and then they imbue it. Okay, and bring it to life. Now, do not expect them to bring themselves to life in front of you. Something about this idea that they do that, and you guys and humans on the whole, especially the scientifically inclined ones, will take a gargoyle and put it in a box and try and analyze the daylights out of it. So they do their best not to show themselves. This does not mean they are not real. And again, you can decide what you want to believe in that respect. Okay. And JCL, how you doing? I did not see you come in, or maybe I did. Okay. One thing's for certain, I did not intentionally ignore you. But when we're looking at the quantum realm, okay, we are talking about tiny, 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 and carry on. Okay. But just as with electronics, they respond faster the closer you get them together. The relays trip off much quicker than if they're far apart. Okay, this is why you've got several seconds from the time the lightning starts in the atmosphere and hits the ground. It's because of the distance. Now, something with that kind of power traveling that distance is going to get there a whole lot quicker. And when we get into the quantum realm, we get way smaller. Okay, so are computers in society going to pick up pace? Yes. But here's why it is so important that we realize that we've got to be looking at this world in what we can do in a positive side. Ozzy's just adding, I know about the Germans in the 30s, but I've seen another video, I believe it was maybe in the 1920s, and a lady holding a corded phone and standing next to a screen, supposedly video chatting. That would not be a shock, because if you think about it, okay, in today's world, and you can check your facts, and I absolutely encourage you to check your facts, that most of the technology you're seeing is out actually 20 to 30 years before you actually see it. Which means if we take that date, if we take the 1920s, the 1930s, and go, somebody had already come up with the idea of video sharing, this means that the concept likely had jumped the gun and was already there in the late 1800s, albeit probably in a backwoods shop somewhere. Okay, and we also have to remember that these scientific advancements are happening all over the world at the same time. Okay, now we've talked about the idea of connecting mentally speaking, to other people on the planet. This is already being done. Okay, it's been done for centuries. This is why when you look back in history, you find many cultures evolving the same way, yet separated by thousands of miles, where they had no way of physically communicating. Okay, and this is going to continue to happen. The nice part about it is what we're also looking at here is this is not relegated to just human to human. Okay. The neat part about it is we are looking at a technological boom, much like the Industrial Revolution, only in this case, we're looking at the computer revolution. Yeah, and there is no question there, Ozzy. What you guys may not be aware of, when they came out with the whole concept of cloning, okay, and said it was such a big deal, and I forget who it was, but they came out and said, oh, we cloned a sheep. Well, that's great, except they did it 30 years earlier. Okay, and yes, this does extrapolate to the fact, and I call it fact, I don't have any proof. You guys get to go find the proof. Okay, but yes, it does mean there are human clones out there. Okay, absolutely it does. But think about the ramifications. This is why they're not being announced. Okay, now they came out about 2 years ago, I think, maybe a little longer, with an active AI computer, with an active AI android. Okay, that they gave citizenship to. Now, the funny part about it is that's like Adam and Eve. They bring it out to say, hey, here's what we've done. Thank you so much there, Derek. Derek's just confirming here that Dolly was the sheep in 1997. Okay, now they've come out and said, we've got an AI, we've given it citizenship. What they haven't told you, and I cannot prove this, I don't have any way of backing this up, so I'll leave it to you guys that are the researchers. Okay, they've already got a community that is completely occupied, inhabited, that was the word I was looking for, by AI androids. Okay, and this is one of these things. Now, somebody asked me if I have a problem with AI. AI itself, not exactly. But the moment they start getting into positions where people go, excuse me, computer, what's the solution for this? Their solutions are not likely to have functional emotional interaction available to help temper it, which means the outcomes aren't necessarily going to be what you're hoping. I am curious if the world fairs are still happening. The technology fairs that used to happen back in back in World War One, World War Two. They were phenomenal boosts for technology across the board. Problem in today's world is people are so caught up in I want total credit, I want total control over it. This is what is holding evolution back in a sense. And I mean societal evolution. Okay, but with that in mind, it is time that we start looking at the world and going, how do we make this happen? How do we get this working on a solid base? Oh, perfect. Thank you so much there, Derek. Okay. Derek's just saying, yeah, they just had a World's Fair in Dubai. You know, now, I tell you, I was asked to bring this up. This is so far out of my field of knowledge, really, never mind functional specialization, that this is why I'm feeding back the information I'm seeing in the chat room. Yeah, Ozzy's going, nah, they already found, destroyed, or repurposed all the old world buildings. Not yet, but they're working on it. And the funny part there is what they're calling old world. There's a staggering number of them that are not even known about yet. But that's because they have to be under a lot of what we call ground. There is a lot of underground communities that people are going to be finding over the next several years. Okay. And all of a sudden finding out just exactly how far man used to be and how far you can still go. And I'm a firm believer that when we choose to work together, what is this? I do believe, oh, well, that can be shut. There, that'll clear that up in a hurry. I am a firm believer that when we focus our efforts and we concentrate on the positive things that we can change, we will end up with a much better world. Funny thing is, free energy is available all around the place. I'm actually sitting on the schematics because I don't know how to translate the schematics into real world. Okay. Well, yeah, there were a lot of things that happened. Ozzy's just going, mammoths were found with subtropical plants. Temperate zones were different and something happened. Absolutely, there was a lot of things that changed. Okay, and we're only just scratching the surface. Now, I will tell you, some of the problems that have arisen, some of, not all of, are because mankind did not think things through as their technology advanced. And unfortunately, the same thing is likely to happen again in the very near future. No, this is not the end of the world. Okay, this is just a question of understanding that life itself goes in major cycles. Okay, so right now, we are looking at a world that is changing faster than most people can cope with. But if we pool our resources, we absolutely will be able to. Rest assured, Derek, yes, there were. And Tartaria was an interesting civilization. Technologically speaking, way more advanced than what we are today. Okay. Way more advanced. A lot of fun. There was a lot of things to be said about it. But it was very passionate people, both on the positive and the negative side of things. Okay, now exactly where they were relegated to, I'm a firm believer that Tartaria was at one point reached in under Mount Kilimanjaro. Okay, and that was where you accessed it from. In today's world, a little harder to get there. There are a lot of hidden societies that have gone the way of the dodo bird because the outside world would not adapt properly. And because so much fear was being propagated at that time, many of the things got wiped out. You know, but when we start, I won't argue where it was supposedly centered. Okay. And when you think about it, given the expanse of what because Tartaria was, from my recollection, it stretched from, likely started up in Russia way and then expanded southbound. But it was built, a lot of it was ended up being moved underground. Okay. This does not mean it still exists at this point. I really don't know at this point. But I do know that there are many societies that are so far advanced, and I'm talking ones on Earth, that are much further advanced, technologically speaking, than what mankind is. But then, mankind, like the surface society right now, quite honestly, there, Derek, you're talking sheer numbers. Okay, sheer numbers is what did it. That and the fact that humans on the whole, especially when you look at what the monarchies were, many of the people that took power, that became the monarchs, were also extremely aggressive in reclaiming land. Now, the Tartara and the ones in Tartaria, okay, were not as aggressive. Net result, they lost their footing. Sad to say, and I'm going to throw a wrench into people's structure here. The Europeans did the same thing to the North American Indians. Okay, where the North American Indians did not have the technology to compete, but they also didn't have the level of aggression. You know, if you think about it, you know, one of the best ways of looking at technology with what you're asking there, Derek, is this. Okay. When you look at modern technology, you look at Star Trek, The Voyage Home. Okay. No. Star Trek in Search of Spock. When Scotty pulled a couple of chips out of the computer in the Excelsior. And he comes in, tosses them to Kirk, and he goes, the more advanced they get, the easier they are to gum up, which is very true. Yeah, I mean, there's, we could get really sidetracked on where society has come from. The important factor, and, there's a saying there, those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Problem is, those that dwell on it have exactly the same problem. Okay, every civilization that has come along, there was one prior. Okay, somewhere along the line, there was one prior. The problem is that mankind has pushed so far, so hard to move forward, they don't recall the basics. Okay, so the minute you run into a snag, you all of a sudden are stuck behind the eight ball. Yeah, Nathan is going, the more you overtake the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain. That's the quote. Okay, and I think it may have been even more so the more you overhaul the plumbing. Otto Hauser, how are we doing? That's one area that we're not going to get too terribly far into, because what you're referring to, number one, bad news for you, God ain't dead. Okay, and he didn't get the hell out of here. But what he did do was he set things up and said, okay, guys, all of you have freedom of choice. Here's the good, here's the bad, here's the neutral. I'd prefer if you follow the good. If not, you're going to have to deal with the side effects. Okay, now that being said, okay, there's a saying that came up when I was a kid. God didn't die; He just got the hell out of here. God is still watching, but is He going to come down and straighten things out? Not a snowball's prayer. Okay, and by the way, neat little part now. Demons and daemons, we're talking two different quantities. I won't debate what the demons are up to, but the daemons already know how to come and go. And they certainly don't need somebody guiding them. They've already got a floor plan. Now, Ozzy's going, I'll watch John Levi, Wise Up, Michelle Gibson, and Static in the Attic. Sometimes autodidactic, Burn Eye, and Divergent, but my favorite is Robert Seffer. Now, to be honest with you, Ozzy, I don't know any of these people. Okay, but then I don't go around, I don't actually spend any time going to different channels. And well, that's not entirely true. Going to many channels looking to see what's up there. A lot of that is because I've always held I do not research what I'm looking at, which means I don't get all the extra stuff that comes in from other people's input. Okay, and that's just the reality behind it. Where am I here? You know, the sad part of it is, regardless of where you're getting your information, double check your information. If your information is coming from written stuff from all over the place, understand much of what is written, as far as what I've seen, somebody reads something, rewrites it in a slightly different fashion, and all of a sudden, here we go. You know, the reality of it is, when you think about it, you know, the problem that we're having right now, and I will tell you, this is going to become much more evident as the quantum computers come online. And bear in mind, when we're talking quantum computers, do I have one handy? No, apparently not. When we're No, I don't have one of these handy. Okay, I'm working on a laptop, but I use an extended keyboard. Now, your quantum computers, as you can see with this one, it's like any keyboard you guys have. Okay, buttons and the whole nine yards. Quantum keyboards, like quantum computers, will be using a biomagnetic holographic interface. Meaning, take your hand, we're not talking touch screen. We are talking, take a look at a three-dimensional holographic display where, just like in the movies, they can take that little block and they'll move it over there and they'll open up that window this way and then slide it sideways and grab it and throw it in the garbage. This is the reality that's coming. In all fairness, some of it is reality that's already here. That's that's very much the case there, Ozzy. A lot of what we understood, okay, a lot of what we have been taught is that societies grew up and stayed in a very localized area. They take completely out of the equation the number of travelers that happen. Okay, now if we go back down the road about whether God's here or whether he exists or not, there are reports of a wanderer fitting Yeshua's description in North America at the time when the North American Indians were only just getting started. Okay. And there's no recollection and there's no explanation as to how he got from one place to another. And I will tell you, if he walked on water, which we know he could do that, but there's a big difference between walking across a pond and walking across the Atlantic Ocean. Little bit of a problem with waves there. But when we're looking at quantum computers and quantum communication, mankind 50,000 years ago had direct mental cognition, had cohesive thought between people all around the world. 50,000 years ago, the Lemurian Empire had total connection, not a hive mind. Okay. Now, I don't expect you to believe this. That's for you to decide. You know, I got asked one day why people should believe me. I've yet to come up with an answer. But what you should consider believing is what your own actual experience tells you, not necessarily what you read in a book. You know, so I mean, when we're looking at this, we are looking at, the other little thing you got to remember about getting across. It just dawned on me. Now we know from all the historical evidence, we've got, we know that mankind had off-world visitors way back when they were still when mankind was still living in caves. Okay. And for those of you that don't believe that they were living in caves, I can't do much for you there. Okay. But there are cave paintings showing UFOs and landings and things that don't look human interacting amongst other peoples. Now, if you consider that, it is it's very plausible for a UFO to come down, pick up a few people, pick back up, go to the other side of the world and drop them off. Net result, you have expansion in pocket forms. Now, I know in the Lemurian Empire, when the Atlantean Empire collapsed, okay, they were spread out all over Europe, the western side of Asia, and Africa. Okay, they were spread out all over the place when the hub finally collapsed. And net result, all of these people ended up moving elsewhere and ended up merging with the peoples of Earth. Now, yeah, no question, the Atlanteans, were an off-world race. So yeah, there are natural half-breed, not half-breed anymore. Natural Atlantean genomes that are floating around. Okay, genetics. But again, this will become very painfully obvious as computers reach their ultimate level. They've already got programs. It used to be you desired to take your pulse. Okay, you had to know where you were looking to be able to push on it and feel the pulse with your own hand. Now, there are programs where you take this, push it and point it over top of your wrist, and you get all the information like that. Okay, now you can bet your bottom dollar with that in mind. Ozzy's just going, Michelle Gibson does work on Earth having a grid along ley lines, and it works on both the globe model and the flat street style. There are theories that it's part of the electric yeah. Neat part is, it's not actually, and they'll figure this out. Okay. Ozzy's just saying there is theories that it's part of electric or computer chips. Two factors. One, it's a biomagnetic grid. Okay, it's not the electronics. That'd be number one. The other part of it is when we take a look at the Egyptian hieroglyphs. Not only are they a language unto themselves when you look at the small sections, but take a look at the layout of the little hieroglyphs. They are a computer relay, an information relay system. Okay, but they are not relaying electricity. They're already relaying on the quantum level. Okay, and this is something that mankind will figure out in time. For the moment, The theory they're working on is a functional one. It's very much like they had to go through the idea of nuclear power before they could get to fusion. Okay, and they'll have to go to fusion before they get to fission. Problem is, mankind's got to realize, and I mean mankind on a societal level, has got to realize that we are not talking about just making this stuff faster. We really have to take a look at it and go, yes, it's faster, but we've got to focus on the positive, on the peaceful side of it. Because I will tell you, if mankind really gets into outer space properly with its aggressive leadership, okay, mankind will draw down on itself a war that they haven't got a snowball's prayer of winning. Okay, because an interstellar war, mankind cannot win. We do not have the equipment. Especially when you think that, well, let's face it, they've got planet busters. It kind of screws up the idea of black powder. Or even nuclear weapons, for that matter. Absolutely, Ozzy. And there's something else that they haven't started looking at too much yet. But hopefully they will in time. And that is, if you look at the alignment of the air bands, okay, not only were they angled properly, but they were angled in such a way that they were amplified, okay, where it wasn't just radio waves, it was sonic. Well, Derek, and we've already sort of touched on this earlier by being told he doesn't exist. More to the point, the one I refer to as God could wipe out everything in existence like that. You just got no interest in it. Now, to me, that's your ultimate winner in a war. And yes, there are more of him than just one. He was just the one that opened this one. But there are other universes that were opened up by others. Okay. Yeah. The neat part about it, with all of this going on, and the more open we can be about communication, but the more open we can be, the better we can understand each other. And the really important thing, just touching on this issue of God, whether you believe God exists or doesn't exist, that's up to you. Okay, it's kind of like whether you believe the world is round or the world is flat. Everybody has their own perceptions. Okay, and as long as we can respect people, we'll be able to make this world much better. The problem is that so many people have been taught, if you don't believe exactly what I believe, then then we have a problem. Derek, you were misinformed. Okay. Well, I shouldn't say you were misinformed. I'm just not entirely sure what they mean by a low frequency. Okay. But I will tell you this. The what you know as Alpha Draconis, okay, the Sarkon, had an empire that spanned light years. They too expanded too fast. And because of that, they cut communication with the outer reaches. Net result, the Strazazian, the Tormenon, and the Kamalians all evolved from the same root. Yeah, Ozzy goes, I'm also mod on some Christian channels, and debates are usually kicking off in about an hour. See, and that's one thing that I look at. Debates are healthy if it becomes an exchange of ideas. If it becomes an exchange of ignorance, as in an argument, as in somebody saying, you're absolutely wrong. Okay. Now, I had a falling out with somebody years ago because they told me my opinion was absolutely wrong. Okay, well, the reality is opinion cannot be wrong. The facts you base your opinion on may be incomplete, they may be just flat out false, but the opinion itself must be right. Don't mind me, something in my eye. I push hard enough, my eye pops out, and we have a real mess on our hands. So let's not do that. I found a way to look at evolution and creationism and combine them under one roof. Okay, which is one of the reasons why, when I took that concept and wrote the Yldrbac Chronicles, I combined all of it, under one tight manner. The reality is, I'm doing my best. I'm aiming at simply focusing on the individual. Let the other channels debate the major things, and let's take a look at Ozzy goes, sometimes it's doctrine, but usually creation evolution. The after shows and open panels can get dumpster fire, so sometimes I'm just lurking and listening. In other words, I can hear this going on, I'm not dealing with it. I've been on some channels where it got too much caught up in the political side of things, and frankly, from my end, I don't get involved in for a lot of reasons. Not the least of which is my blood pressure doesn't take it well. But when I look at the individual, we're talking, when we talk evolution, when we talk politics, when we talk the legal side of things, you're talking about a massive problem. Okay, a massive thing is going to take time to sort out. But here's the kicker. If we focus on the individuals, on you, taking control of your life, working inside this panel, working inside this framework that we've got, we can turn this world around. But it's going to take work. It did not just happen overnight. Let me see what is going on here. Get a kick out of this, and I don't know what causes it. You gotta remember, Derek, there are rules that YouTube itself has, and if you're trying to put something in that goes against their rules, they will delete it. Okay, this is one of the reasons why I look at the individual thing, because individuals are what's going to make this world different. Okay, I look at the way our world is evolving, and I go, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing to enhance the ability for mankind to unify, to start working on the same page? Okay, and right now, what I'm seeing in many other places, is a conflict rising, and it boggles my mind. Because I'm looking at this, like we've got 4 people in the chat room right now. Now, I have no doubt there's a number of people that are just listening in. And one day we will find a formula where we get more activity in the chat room, more input. But I do know I've got to look for that formula. Get those out of my way so I can see it. There's got to be a way to find common ground for everyone to sit. Yeah. See, Derek's just telling us that Sunday night there is another whistleblower going on. Well, the funny part about it You know, they yeah, I'm not going there. You know, one of the big things I'm running into a problem with is the number of people, like I avoid, there's a lot of things I avoid personally. Okay. And I noticed that the conversation here has gone completely sideways, which is not entirely surprising. You know, one of the reasons I look at the topics I do is because at least I've got a basis in them. You know, I am a firm believer in certain things. You know, there are things that I won't go into because I've already had my hand slapped on YouTube once. Okay, and that was all it took for me to go, no, there are certain topics that I'm just not going to tangle with. Okay, but with that in mind, it's time to really focus on the individual. Okay, and I mean you guys as individuals. All of the big things are going to end up being dealt with. Okay, they're going to be debated. The question is not, are they going to be debated? It's, are they going to make any headway? Now, the reason I'm focusing more on the individual is because you have control over where your life is going to go. Okay, there's a lot going on. Yes, there's politics, there's religion, evolution, flat earth, the whole 9 yards. Okay, but, and we could go down a rabbit hole with conspiracy all over the place. I don't see the point in it. Oh, not a problem there, Ozzy. Okay, and this is why I said, I wasn't complaining by any stretch. The reason I'm not putting a lot into what you guys are talking about is because my whole outlook, if I take a look at it, okay, we'll sum it up this way. Where it comes to, does God exist? I've met him personally. You don't have to believe that. I do. Okay. Where it comes to the flat earth thing, take all of science and throw it out the window. I've looked at it. Been off world, seen whether it's flat or not. Okay. Yeah, Derek, I'm not complaining about the comments by any stretch. Okay, these things are things that are going on. The reason I'm not putting a whole lot of participation is because for me, every religion out there is repeating the same thing with different words. Okay, and a lot of it has been focused on fear mongering, much like much of the politics. If you go back into the 50s, okay, what are now called the Republicans in the states, what are now called the Republicans, were touting the same stories that the Democrats back then were touting, and it's the same with the Democrats, the Republicans from back then. Every politician, every political field, okay, every religious field, from what I've seen, all promote the same sort of things using different words and different people. Different words, different names. Okay, where it comes to evolution, okay, I get a kick out of some of the misconceptions because they don't add up. Okay, but what I do know is you as an individual have the choice as to whether you are going to be nice to the people around you, nice, tolerant, communicative, whatever, or whether you're going to be mean to them, and try and make people feel less because they don't see things the same way you do. Rest assured, the way I look at the world is, by standard definition, very abnormal. Okay. Yeah, neat thing, Ozzy's going lands beyond the ice wall. Neat part there is if you go up into the Arctic Circle or into the heart of the Antarctic, okay, or for that matter, up beyond the snow line, there are civilizations and communities up there. Here's the problem, Derek. I hate to put it in these terms, especially with my base, But ufology itself, I see so similar arguments and situations, and comparisons in different streams of ufology that I do in different streams of religion. Okay. And this is not to say I disagree with any of it. The problem is a lot of it is very similar. Just like I said, different names, different words being used. Okay. The fact of the matter is there is no question that you've got two types of people. You've got your great big well-known whistleblowers that come out and say, this is what I know. Okay. Then you've got the people that are conspiracy theorists. They go, this is what I know. But what you'll find, if you compare what the conspiracy theorists are talking about to what the whistleblowers later come out and say, what you're dealing with, is a theorist comes out with, here's the likely outcome. The whistleblower goes, here's the proof of what the theorist said. And by the way, Derek, you're absolutely correct. The vents in the pyramids were used for energy movement because there is sonic communication lines. Okay. You can use wind to communicate over great distance. You can use olfactory senses for exactly the same purposes. Kimberly, how you doing? Glad you could join us. These are all communication methods that mankind has forgotten about. Okay, we've gotten away from understanding how we as individuals operate. Okay, one of the obvious issues is where it comes to self-healing. Okay, we have turned so much attention to science and to what can be proven. Oh, not a problem as far as the lake goes there, Kimberly. We've gotten so caught up in proving what we know before we accept it. In other words, you have to prove it in order to believe it. The reality is, if you don't believe it, you're going to have a hard time proving it. Ultimately, Derek, that's exactly what the problem is. I mean, you think about it. I heard a tale a while ago that they banned the use of white willow bark. Now, white willow bark, back with the North American Indians, was used as a painkiller. Okay, they used to boil it down. I don't know how they made it, but they take white willow bark, they boil it down, or they do whatever they did to it, and use it for a painkiller. It became illegal under the current government, well, actually under a government a little while ago, to use white willow bark as a medicine. Here's the problem. Aspirin itself is a derivative of white willow bark. Okay, and this is what's happening. Science says this works. You take a look at hemp. Okay, look back in history. Hemp is more resilient, more versatile. It is more durable than cotton ever was. But the major cotton farms, okay, were the ones that had the hemp farm shut down. And you are right. It was because of money. Now, that said, we cannot at this stage shut down the oil industry. You can have all the arguments you'd like about it, but you got to understand, you shut down the oil industry, computers, clothing, and much of your food and housing equipment goes out the window. Okay, down in California, Emmy, they made it illegal. At least what I heard was they made it illegal to collect rainwater. Of all the things in the world to stop you from collecting natural rainwater. Okay, and of course, let's go with the other real wonderful one. Okay, and quantum computers will actually tell you whether this works. Okay, but they talk about secondhand smoke being worse for you than anything else. Well, think about that for just a nanosecond. Okay, firsthand smoke. If you're smoking a cigarette, you take it into your lungs. This right here is the best filtration system in existence. Okay, for land dwelling individuals. Okay, how, if that is your best filtration system built, could what comes out of it be worse than what goes into it? About 25 years ago, the Canadian Medical Authority came out and said the number one cause of lung cancer was breathing. Okay, which is, in all fairness, quite real. If you're not breathing, you won't get lung cancer. Okay, if you're not breathing, you may get bone cancer, as proven by the fact that dinosaurs have been discovered with bone cancer. So, cancer is not a modern day thing as we've been led to believe. Okay, but we gotta realize the more we rely on science instead of nature, and do not get me wrong, science is a fantastic thing, but we've got to realize nature was here first, and science is based on theory. Now, we talk about conspiracy theorists. You talk about that negative side. What are we going to do with the quantum computers? Are they going to be used for positive or negative? Okay, and that's where you have to take a look at it. When I turn around and I'm putting out a book here called Believe in Your Finances and Follow Your Dreams. Can that be used to control somebody else? Certainly, I'm sure you can find a way to do it. My intention is simple. Here's a way to make your finances work. Given that, and that's something I'm going to have to look at as a short little addendum to it. Because that book is ready to go, is already in the printer. Okay, but I've got to look at a way for people who don't have enough money to survive can turn around and take what they've got to move forward. Okay, and there are ideas I've got to deal with that. Okay, much of what I deal with now, why would that do that? That was different. Much of what I deal with is the practical side of my instincts. Okay, now don't get me wrong. I'm not drifting away from the UFO community. Okay, I'm certainly quite willing to, I was asked the other day if I would air my belief structure where it comes to politics and or religion in person. The answer to that is yes. Will I do it on this channel? No. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But what we have to realize is whatever information you're working on, it's time to look at how we can take that information and put it to positive use. You can absolutely find ways of taking a positive thing and turning it into a negative. Not the least of which, let's take a look at that neat little thing called a salve. Before modern medicine came along, modern medicine was herbalism. Okay, and you could take a salve, you could take a concoction of plants and or animal components, turn it into a salve that could heal people. Problem was, in the process of finding out what would heal them, we also discovered a lot of poisons. Okay, so an herbalist has the option of healing people or of poisoning them. A ufologist, in my case, a UFO specialist. Okay. Derek, the answer to your question, yes, a number of times, which is part of why I ended up writing a number of books all at the same time. I've run into one where, and this is where what stonewalled the completion of the Return to Paradise. I've got one section that I've got to write, that I've got to fill in, that I didn't know exactly how I was going to deal with it until last night. I just didn't have time to get to it today. Okay, so I will get started on that. Let me just take a peek. I think I've got that book open. Let me see. No, I do not. So let's open it up. Take that. And we go. Of course, we don't have that where I wanted it. So where is it? Should be behind here. Yep. Open that one up. There it is. Now I can bring this up and then I can actually give you a solid answer. That's going to take a little bit of time, but that's okay. I've got, by the look of it, about another 60 pages to write. I've already finished that novel off. I know where it ties off completely. Okay. And I've got about half the next book already done. Okay. But yeah, I run into writer's block on occasion, which is an advantage when you think I've got 35 or 40 books. I'm in the process of writing simultaneously. So if I run into a block here, I go over and turn that one and get it done. But you'll notice about 3 weeks ago, I'm putting this booklet together on finances. Here we are 3 weeks later, it's in the printer. Okay. I go down tomorrow to take a look at the print of what she popped out and turn around and go, okay, now put it to print. And then I will be able to say it's up to date. Now, I was informed the other day that quite frankly, trying to order directly off the net is not going to happen. Okay. Which means I've got a problem on my hands I've got to deal with. Okay. And being somebody that does not work well with tech to start with, that's kind of an annoying roadblock. But I'm going around it. It'll be a little slower going, but that's how I'm going to do it. Okay. Now, the reality of it is we have a choice with whatever skill you have. Whatever skill you have. You can either use it to help people, well, thank you very much, Sir Derek. It's up to you whether or not you use your knowledge, your skills, your abilities to assist other people, to encourage other people, or to shut them down. Okay. Now, there is nothing wrong with disagreeing with somebody. Okay. When you take a look, okay, a lot of what I'm doing, I figured out how to tie together. Okay. Like I said, I've got 35 to 40 books all in production right now, and 8 now that are going to be in print, 7 in print already. But this particular series, I've taken a lot of the knowledge I've got, a lot of the philosophies I've got, and drop it and combine it inside here, including some of the poems I've written, some of the songs I've written, okay, some of the philosophies, things like aliens and the different races, the idea of reincarnation, the reality of soulmates, of creationism, of evolution, the whole 9 yards. A lot of it is all tied together under these novels. Now, when this saga gets finished, okay, when this saga is done, it'll be about 4,800 pages long. Okay, now, right now, there's 300 and some odd in here. I finally figured out, well, about a week ago, figured out why the new formatting changes the number of pages. Okay, but it has to do with the fact when I was taught to write, you put two spaces after every period. In the modern writing, you put one. Derek, the literally this book. Okay, I wrote the outline for it. This series, I wrote the outline for when I was 15. Okay, but that's not the first one that came to print. I got to check to see when the first one came to print. But this one here, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams, first came to print in, let's just take a peek. go to the back because that's what it's written. This one came to print in 2018. This one took me about a year to write. Okay, but this is the backbone of literally how I took my life and changed it. Okay, these are the tools I've handed out to literally thousands of people. Bits and pieces of the tools, sometimes the whole package. Okay, have been handed out to countless thousands of people. As in, I've got well over 100,000 people, 100,000 clients under my belt. But that one took about a year to write. Okay, the newest one coming out took 3 weeks. Okay, and as soon as I pick which topic I'm going to be dealing with, I will have another one of these little ones out, probably inside a month as well, while I am putting the other ones together. Okay, so currently I've got 7 books in print right now, each one of them available directly through me. And unfortunately, with 4 different companies I've talked to that said, oh, we can make it available online for you. 4 different companies, a combined cost of in excess of $10,000, and not a one of them has made it available to be bought online. Not a single one of these professional companies. Needless to say, I don't trust the big companies that are telling me they can do it. Not a snowball's prayer. Okay, there's staggering numbers that go, we can get you web visibility, etc. I'm not interested. Well, I'm interested, but not in dealing with big companies. And again, it's a real simple issue for me. Okay. Well, that's the problem, Derek. My understanding of electronics, I've tried web pages before with just about the same success. So I am working around that as best I can. Okay, so I'm working right now with Facebook. Okay, and I'll be working with LinkedIn to start posting the books. Okay, to start posting the links to them and see if that works. Because relying on the big corporations, you couldn't pay me. Well, actually, you could. You could absolutely pay me to work with the corporations. Okay, would I trust a corporation at this point? Not a snowball's prayer. Now that's my own outlook, because not a one of them has done what they said they could, or what they said they would. Not a one. Now that's my experience. Some of you have dealt with people with corporations that you've had great luck with. Okay, where it comes to this, I was outside my printer's office about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and there was a new guy coming in. I was just leaving, and the guy looks at me and he goes, "I'm looking for a printer to do some work for me." And he goes, "I see you just come out of there. Would you recommend her? Would you recommend that company?" I looked at him and I said, "Well, I don't know. I've worked with her for about 10 years. I've got 7 books in print, and another one I'm just sending to her. I'm looking at it going, I will trust her readily, because I called her up one day and went, this is the book I'm working on. This is what I need for what I require for a cover. Come up with something for me." A week later, she's like, "Here it is. It's in print." Okay, I gotta go down tomorrow morning. But I'm doing my best to figure out how to make that happen. But I will tell you, working on the computer, I can write without a problem. Okay, that does not seem to be a big issue. What I require is visibility. And this is why I developed the whole concept of finding, tracking, and paying for word of mouth. Because everybody pays for advertisement. Okay, usually you pay a company for it. But the number one, bar none, method of advertising is word of mouth. But I happen to have figured out how to not only track it, but how to pay for it properly. So that's what's going through my advertising budget. Between that and putting a newsletter together that will eventually become a literally free, like, and I mean capital free, okay, magazine. It will be. The reason for it is I will turn that magazine into my advertising budget. Period. That's what it will be for. Will I end up selling advertising inside of it? Certainly. But I've got a very definitive ratio already worked out. So I will not permit it to become an advertising magazine like what I saw with one in particular. Used to be a phenomenal magazine. Next thing you know, it used to have one article for, it used to have 5 or 10 articles for each advertisement. And then next thing you know, it's got pages upon pages upon pages of advertising directories. I won't do it. Okay, I will not let the magazine go to that. Now, of course, I can't stop it once I'm dead, but I can certainly put it in place as best I can. Okay, the neat part about it is I figured out if somebody buys a book, okay, I add them to the database. And like I said, my database is on hard copy. So I add them to my database. I know where they got the reference from. If somebody phones in and says, just for instance, Bob, Bob buys a book, and Bob turns around and tells somebody, so Colin contacts me and goes, look, Bob so-and-so told me to buy this book, right? So I just simply add that to the list, and that tells me what has happened with Bob. What has happened with that venue of advertising. I'm not going to go any further into it. It's way too complicated to bother. Suffice it to say, I figured out how to track it well enough that for those of you that are buying the book, when you spread word and let other people know about it, as long as I find out, as long as those individuals go, I bought the book from someone, I bought such and such a book, so-and-so referred me, I'll be able to track it. Okay, and that's just the way I'm looking at it. Probably a bit twisted, but I'm looking at the magazine and like the newsletter magazine as an advertising process. And that's it. Which means I won't be looking at it going, oh, let's sell advertising, let's put a whole pile of advertising to make that what happens. Okay, that's not the way it's going to work. But I do have to track down a proper lawyer. And I want a lawyer, just to be clear, I'm looking for a local one that I can sit down across the table from and go, this is what I require. Not this is what you require. This is what I require. This is what I need to happen. Okay. Now, do I get roadblock? Do I get writer's block periodically? You bet. Okay. And by the way, I love West Kootenai Power. Used to be a company in town here. It got bought out or sold or something like that. But they used to have a sign on the wall. Okay. And what they used to say was to err is human. To really foul things up requires a computer. Okay. Which is fantastic. If you really want to screw things up, you can absolutely shatter things. Now, I've got 40 years of writing on this computer. Okay. And I've just about lost it a few times. Oh, nice, Ozzy. Ozzy's just going, I once almost completely copied the story from Goosebumps and got the top mark when I was like 10 years old. Now, curiosity, did you write the story before the Goosebump came out, or did you write it after? Just a curiosity thing. Because many times the stories come out, okay, and more than one person will come up with the same idea. It was just a curiosity thing on my part. But the fact that you could creatively write at 10 years old is fantastic. Okay, I wasn't writing at 10 years old. Heck, I wasn't doing a lot of things at 10 years old. Not the least of which is I couldn't even ride a bicycle until I was in my early teens. I didn't have the balance for it. But I've got one storyline that is directly tied to this series. Okay, the lead character in here, Jeremiah Wollstrom, there is another. I don't know if it'll be a novel or a novella. Novella being about 100 pages. Okay, novel being 200 or more. Okay, I don't know what it'll be, but I do know this particular character before the Great, and because this is book 10, the Great Collapse takes place in book 9, and before book 9 takes place, there is an extra storyline that is going to be drawing on the technological advances almost unilaterally. So it will be taking place off world. Okay, right before the world collapses. But this is just one of those things, like I said, virtually everything that I'm doing, I can tie into these books. Not the least of which, for those of you that are role playing and that are gamers, as in Dungeons and Dragons, I've even got a group of gamers in this book. Okay, y'all, because from my standpoint, it's all connected. Every one of us is connected. Every one of you has a goal, has a dream. You may have reached it, you may not have. By lay odds, if you reach one game and one dream, you're reaching for another one. Okay. Somebody came up. I mean, I remember talking to a grade 12. Oh, Lord. Must have been 30 years ago. 19, nope. Well, 20 years anyway. I was doing psychic readings for a grad class, and I had a kid come in, a grade 12, that came in. He said he wanted to know if he was on the right track because he had a real strong interest in helicopters and in helicopters and in engineering. And he laid out this neat little idea. He goes, I've got this design about an ejection seat for helicopters. And I listened to his description and I went, it's a good idea, except one question. He goes, what's the question? I said, where are they going to be ejected to? And he very calmly looked at me and goes, well, you fire them out the top. I looked at him and I said, well, that will cure the problem. That will cure the problem of them dying in the crash. He goes, but why? I said, where are the props? He goes, oh my gosh. That wasn't the word he used, by the way. 5 years later, there was a breakthrough in helicopter engineering. Then I don't know if this guy was responsible, but 5 years later, they had ejection seats in place for helicopters. Two methods. One where a bar would drop down on either side of the helmet and the seat would be shot out sideways. Okay, net result, stopping the people from breaking their neck. The other one, all of the bolts got fired, all the blades got fired loose at the same time, a split second before the seat went through the roof. In both cases, the pilot could now survive. Okay. Let's see, I'm just looking at this. Derek's going, and he's just saying, okay, I got a day or two on you guys. Derek is 37, Ozzy 38. Okay. In my, yeah. I myself just turned 60. Okay. So, I mean, all of you have a dream. Every single one of you. I know in my heart of hearts, you've all got a dream. I would love to start seeing your dreams come to light. From my standpoint, this is the drive we've got here. Ultimately, this is my dream. Find a way to encourage you guys to work together, to find a way to make things happen. Okay, now I've got a couple of people working on ideas for me. on ways to enhance marketing and what have you. That is, frankly, my weak point at this point. But it will become one of my mainstays. There is no question there. Because I've reached the point where it's like, okay, you either figure it out yourself, or, and that means talking to anybody that does it, or you say scrap it, it's not going to happen. Okay, I'm not interested in the scrapping thing. Now, if I look at it, where's my brain box? Not my brain box. Don't know what I did with it, but this one will work. If I take a look at this, okay, in order for me, well, realistically, in order for me, I have to be generating, I require for me to live, 2,000, just over 2,000 bucks a month. Okay, which means if I take 2,000 bucks, okay, just counting this book, or this size book is more to the point. Okay, I simply have to make, I've got to draw into my pocket, I've got to sell about 200 of these a month. Okay, that's all I've got to do, because I don't make a lot on each one. What I came to the conclusion of is I don't have to sell them for $80 or $90 if I can get away with it. Yeah, my parents both just passed away a few years ago in 81. For me, I've already passed away, so I'm living on stolen time, really. I mean, I figure at 5 years old, I walked out of the morgue. They said, oh, you're dead, you're done. I looked at them and went, no, got up and left. Actually, in all fairness, I didn't tell them no. I just got up and left. But I'm telling you, if you've got a dream, I had a client that came to me. She was 52. She had always had a dream of becoming a doctor. She attained her doctorate, her MD, at 60. Okay. From my understanding, Colonel Sanders was 65 when he opened his first chicken stand. Okay. If we look at 2018 when this book went into print, okay, that would mean at 2018 I would have been 55 when I published my first book. Not when I published my first writing. My first writing was a poem, and I would really have to look at it again. I just don't know where it is offhand. There it is. This little book here is a conglomeration. Okay, it's a poetic anthology, but it's not mine. It only had one of my poems in it. So the first time I published was in 1997. That's when the poem in this book, and like I said, this was a staggering job they did. Okay, great book, but I will tell you, it didn't cost them a plug nickel, because what these guys did was they went, oh, you won a contest, so give us X number of dollars and we'll include your poem in this book. Okay, I can't begin to tell you how many books, but I will, or how many poems, but I will tell you, considering the fact that they charged to put the book in print. Okay, that ain't gonna happen without 3 hands. Given the fact that they charged, okay, when that they turned around and charged for people to add their books, what they did was get a whole pile of people to pay for their book, and then they sold it and took all the profit. World, how you doing? Boy, is that ever an overstatement, Derek. You would not believe how many times I've seen Geminis and Scorpios go toe-to-toe in anger, if you will. You know, the reality of it from my standpoint is this. Like I said, every one of you has a dream. I know this for an absolute certainty. Okay. But it's one of these things. Oh, would you look at that? We went sideways in a hurry. It's one of these things that it's time we start working towards attaining these dreams. Now, that said, just a quick note, if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. We have actually gone over the 2-hour mark. So, with that in mind, I'm going to call it night. I will be back again. What is today? Today is Wednesday, I think. Pretty certain today is Wednesday. Yep. So I will be back again on Friday. Okay. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.